Welcome to Conversations with Big Rich. This is an interview-style podcast. Those interviews are all involved in the off-road industry. Being involved, like all of my guests are, is a lifestyle, not just a job. I talk to competitive teams, racers, rock crawlers, business owners, employees, media, and private park owners, men and women who have found their way into this exciting and addictive lifestyle. We discuss their personal history, struggles, successes, and reboots. We dive into what drives them to stay active in off-road. We all hope to shed some light on how to find a path into this world we live and love and call off-road.
Whether you're crawling the red rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2. Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Have you seen 4Low magazine yet? 4Low magazine is a high-quality, well-written, four-wheel drive-focused magazine for the enthusiast market. If you still love the idea of a printed magazine, something to save and read at any time, 4Low is the magazine for you. 4Low cannot be found in stores, but you can have it delivered to your home or place of business. Visit 4lowmagazine.com to order your subscription today. On today's episode of Conversations with Big Rich, we have Taylor Anderson. Taylor is he's an off-road racer, off-road business owner. He was one of the, I believe, one of the startup guys with Rigid Industries, the lighting company. I know he was VP and he is a designer and won some awards for some of the stuff that they designed. Taylor, it's really good to have you on board, and haven't talked to you in a while, so it's good to do this.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Rich. It's exciting to do, and it's good to rehash the past a little bit. I've been out of it for a little bit here on the business side, so it'll be fun.
Right. So let's start off right away. And where were you born and raised?
I was born in Mesa, Arizona, raised in Arizona. I never left, so I am literally about 5 miles from the hospital I was born at.
Okay.
And a mile away from my high school, and I'm still here. I like Arizona enough to where we never felt the need to leave.
Right. I get it. I love Arizona, but I love Arizona more in the winter time.
Yes.
Than I do in the summer.
A little more desirable. Everybody does, by the way. So, we just got back from running some errands, and I think everybody is here in Arizona right now on the roads. So
yes, that's true.
Every car you can imagine.
And it'll be that way until the beginning of March, and then the snowbirds leave.
Yep. Exactly, and then we leave once it starts to get hot. We actually do head up north to a cabin that we have up there. So.
Oh, very good. Still in Arizona?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, about 2 hours. 2 hours from our home.
Okay. Cool. Or cooler, yes.
Much cooler and much less in the population, and it's just it's a nice little escape for us, and we really enjoy it.
So. Growing up in Mesa, at that point when you first started, when you were just a little kid, it was a lot more rural than it is now, correct?
Oh yeah. We had dirt roads everywhere, and the edge of town dropped off about 500 feet from my house, and it just turned into orange groves. And that was our playground.
Okay.
That's where we were with our first. I think we had a Honda 110 ATC was the first one, and then after we wore that thing out, I ended up somehow with a 250R, and of course, tried to kill myself many, many times on that. But that was my mode of transportation.
And growing up in that area, was your family involved in like hunting or fishing or off-roading at that time?
Not so much off-roading. I grew up in a camping family, so we'd go camping every few weeks, and then I think I joined Scouts at probably age 11 or 12, and I was in a Scout troop that camped once a month.
Okay.
all over Arizona. So I got to see the parts of Arizona that I didn't when I was younger, and learned just a lot about the state, the history, and had a really good time doing it.
Oh, that's cool.
And more importantly, got out of the heat of the summer. And, we used to go up north. You always go up north. We rarely went south.
Okay. I can understand that. The more trees up north.
Pine trees, baby.
Yep.
Yep. The cool pines of Arizona. A lot of people think it's just a big desert here, but it's actually about half desert and about half pine. So.
Right, but it's really desert, and then it's really piney.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
that transitionary happens instantly.
It does. It does. Our cabin's almost 8,000 feet, and I think our home down in Mesa is 2,000 feet. So there's quite a swing when you get going head up the highway.
Right. So did you you were in Mesa? A mutual friend of ours wanted me to ask you first 3 reasons why Dobson High will always be better than Mountain View.
Well, Dobson High, and I know who this person is. And Dobson High, it was a cute school back in the day. They have a little horse as their mascot, and that was I think it's a pony, the Dobson ponies. And at Mountain View we have toros, so we're just a big badass bull. And I think they won one football game back in the day, but we won the rest of them. So it's cool, and I appreciate his interest in where I went to high school. I don't think he could go there. He was too far. But,
yes, Jeremy Hammer, of course.
Mr. Hammer.
Yes.
Yeah. Good friend.
So growing up out there riding ATC and the motorcycle, what was the first car you got to drive?
First car would have been my grandfather's Ford, and he had I believe it was a bump side long bed. I think it was green or white. You know what? I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember, but I remember driving that at a very young age, sitting on his lap out in Phoenix. He had a place. He lived on the west side, and we'd go out and cruise around. So that was my love affair with Ford. Must have started back then.
Okay. And in school, were you a good student, or did you just get by, or what was schoolwork like for you?
Yeah, I had to work my ass off to get by.
Okay.
I was back before ADHD came out. I think I definitely had it, and we just called it an inability to focus on school because it just wasn't interesting to me. So anything I could do to not work on schoolwork was what I was trying to do. I'd even clean my room if I had homework. I mean, that's how bad it was.
And do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. Yep.
Okay.
I've got a brother who was actually one of my partners in Rigid when we started.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And then another brother who works with my dad still, and they do house maintenance and association neighborhood maintenance.
Okay.
So came a little bit of a construction background, and I spent some time doing that as well. I set tile for a few years before I got into the off-road stuff.
Right. And what was that transition for you, like going grade school and then high school and then going, whatever happened after high school?
The transition, you mean like into off-road, or just where did
just in life in general,
Well, yeah, I spent, after high school, I spent about 6 years trying to finish a college degree. It never worked out.
Is that ADHD?
That's what that was probably, or beer. I went to ASU, so it was full of distractions.
Right.
And then I did some community schools after that, and never ended up getting my degree. I was a student for a while, and then decided that working with my hands was something that I think I enjoyed more. I could focus on, and it made me money. So it was my path.
And what kind of what kind of employment were you doing at that time?
Well, I was working at a camping store out in Tempe, which was by ASU. So I was selling camping gear and still going camping quite a bit, going skiing, and then it just led, into a work environment where I just started working inside and got into doing some sales. Was working for a nut bolt and screw company for a long time, and then ended up from there actually getting involved with a guy who started an off-road company, and that's how I got started in off-road, was with the Yamaha Rhino, of
Okay.
all things. That's when that thing took off in the early 2000s. My brother and I both were part of a company there, Dragonfire, that actually started, and I guess that's where we cut our teeth in off-road, and we discovered it. Went to my
Okay.
first race, went to my first sand show, went to my first off-road expo, and just discovered something that was I was aware of, but I was never a part of.
Right. I remember meeting the Dragonfire guy. I can't even remember his name now.
Todd Romano.
Yes, Todd Romano. That's right. And it
Yep,
was
yep.
down at the Sand Show, and I was putting on We Rock events, or might have even been Cal Rocks at the time, before we went national. But we were trying to get the UTVs involved with the events.
Right, right. Yeah, they made a big splash, and I think they were really kind of a bridge to off-road for a lot of people who could, afford something to get them in the dirt, versus a buggy or a class one car or, anything else.
Right. And I think that even now it's still a segue for people to get involved with motorized sports.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because it's still entry level. It's still what would be considered entry level into motorsports.
Yeah. 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 It's funny. I was just talking about this the other day with a cat named Joey D Giovanni. If you know Joey
Oh
D,
yeah.
I'm sure you do. And we were laughing about the first time. So I think Craig Scanlon was involved in bringing out the first Razor trailers to Arizona so we could test these machines that Polaris had come out with. And it was the Razor 700. And we were invited, obviously, because we were making aftermarket parts. And we showed up out in Phoenix somewhere, and there's 10 of these things sitting there, and we're like, oh, look at that thing. It's they were sportier than the Yamaha Rhino was, and way faster. And we ended up gearing up, and we did a whole test day out there at this track they set up. And we were arguing the other day, actually, Joey and I, over who rolled one first, and it was me and Bill Schuler from Jagged X, and we rolled
Right.
them on the same day. And it's still an ongoing argument as to who rolled, I think, the very first Razor ever. And I think it was me, if you want to know the truth. So.
in 2008, we took. I was trying to get Polaris involved with rock crawling, and they were like, "We don't even know if we can rock crawl these things." And I said, "Yeah, you can." And so, I threw a challenge out to them, and I said, "Let's get together and let's prove it." So they shipped 4 or 5 of them in the dead of night. We had to transfer them in a residential area from a semi-truck that they were enclosed semi-truck into our enclosed race trailer. And then the next day, 2 engineers, the engineer that designed the S and his assistant, and then the marketing lady who at the time was pregnant as well.
Okay.
And then we went out to this little test area in the rocks up in here in the Sierra Nevadas, and we took a couple of renowned rock crawlers, Dustin Webster with Team Red Bull, Jesse Haynes, who's like the reigning national champion rock crawler for quite a while now, and then a guy named Bob Rogie, who was one of the guys that helped me get Cal Rock started, and rock crawler and a pirate from Pirate 4x4, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And then my kid, and then one of his friends, and we went out there and wined and dined them, showed them what they could do. Realized that it was something when you're rock crawling, you had to stay in the throttle. You don't, if you're doing a big rocky climb, you don't want to stop and then restart.
Yeah, that
That's
doesn't
when you
work very
do.
well.
Yeah, that's when you go ass over tea kettle, you know. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, they really handled well. And then the lady in marketing was like all excited, thought, okay, this is going to be great. I like your idea. I like what you want to do. And she took her leave of absence for having the baby. And when she came back, there was somebody else in her spot, and they moved her back over to snow sleds. And then that guy, of course, was like, oh, no, we're not going to do that because that's not, it wasn't his idea. And so we never got involved with the UTV side of it. We get guys coming out once in a while, but not like they should be.
right.
Because it is a shame. They're very, very capable vehicles, as people are proving it, like King of the Hammers.
Oh yeah. No, there's a lot of them out there, and spec built machines that are just better for it. They cut them up a little bit more and make them a little bit more clearance,
Right.
and plenty of room to get in trouble out there.
Yes. So then, Dragonfire. How long were you with Dragonfire?
I think it was about a year and a half, maybe closer to 2 years.
Okay.
But Dragonfire sold to a conglomerate called Mag Group, I think it was. So, we went our separate ways, and one of our customers was Jason Christensen, who had a Rhino aftermarket company called Rigid Industries. And when we left Dragonfire, Jason asked my brother and I to team up. So we became 2/3 of Rigid at that time, and then started really getting heavy into the aftermarket for the Rhinos.
Okay, so then Rigid was already involved. Was Christensen already had Rigid Industries?
He did. Yeah,
okay.
He had the name. He had the shirts. He had the logo, and it was really convenient, honestly, at the time, to not have to start up a new thing altogether. And he invited us in, so the Anderson brothers joined up, and that's when we became a threesome with partners there.
Excellent. And how was the transition from building, all these off-road products for side-by-sides into lighting? Because eventually it became just a lighting company, correct?
It did. Yeah. We discovered that once this light, so we got this light out of California that was being used for something else. Kind of for, I believe it was building and wall wash applications, where it was lighting up the sides of buildings, and we said, if we could get into this automotive pattern, this system that would be mobile, then we could actually do something with it, because it was really amazing. When we looked at it the first time, and we all had our HID lights and our Eagles and our whatever we could find back then as lighting, KC lights, Baja Designs. We had them all. We sold them all. And then we got this other light, and we were just so impressed with it that we really, really started pushing it. And it got to the point to where, we could build Rhinos all day, every day, but the real money was coming from the lighting. It was something that it was easier. We made it, we packaged it, and we sold it, instead of, building rock crawlers and race cars all day, which anybody in the industry will tell you there's just not a lot of money in it.
Right. You can't charge for every hour you have into them.
No, you can't. And some people do very well, and God bless them, but it wasn't our forte. So we discovered the light was going to be our pathway, and we went in and purchased the patents for the technology from the parent company, and said, we're going to take this thing and we're going to put it into off-road. And that's how it started. We were buying lights already boxed that were being made in Southern California. And then we took over the manufacturing process in our little building in Mesa, Arizona, and literally used to invite our friends over on the weekends like we were moving. It's like, hey, if you show up, we'll buy the pizza and the beer, and you guys can help us put together these lights. And that's how that started. All the way to the trade shows. Those same guys would come and hang out at the trade show with us, and we'd buy them a hotel room, and they could sit in the booth and talk about the product. And And that's how it got started. That's how it took off.
And I guess it became a really popular product, not only because of the light pattern and how you can set them up and the variations and stuff, but the amp draw was, HIDs, you throw those things on and, you'd lose, 300 RPM, without, and you didn't lose the horsepower when you turned on the LEDs.
Yeah, there were a lot of advantages back then, and if I reached down deep, I could probably think of all of them. But they didn't have to warm up. They didn't take as much power. They were very, very competitive as far as output went. And what we discovered and actually tested, if you remember our old videos, they were basically bulletproof. I mean, we could do anything, and we made those first couple of videos ourselves back in the day, and just had a hell of a time beating the crap out of these lights and videoing it, making these little films. That was I really think what really helped us launch.
And they were used in construction for, like you said, wall wash and that kind of stuff. Did they have an automotive application at that time, or did you guys just look at it and say, we got to adapt this?
We had to adapt it.
Okay.
To make it work, and it did.
So you guys, so Rigid was pretty much the innovator of LED lighting then for automotive use.
I believe so. I think at the time, Vision X had also come out with one.
Okay.
But I don't know. I really believe we were first to the punch, and everything after that was kind of a copy of some sort. But they had started slow, and then we were the ones that really brought it to market. We brought it out and showed what it could do, and I think that lifestyle, it's what I would call it now, is kind of this lifestyle campaign of using these products and showing people and testing against other products and just trying to prove their worth, which took a while. People didn't believe it. HID was king, and how can you be brighter than an HID? So it took that groundwork and those trade shows and those conversations and that testing, everything that we could do to make it work. And it took a few years.
Right. And what was the first product that you guys? I mean, I know obviously it's LED light, but I mean, was it a big light bar? Was it a pod? What was the first thing you guys came out with?
Well, when we started, we had a 10. Those are the linear light bars, right? So we had a 10, a 20, a 30, and a 40. And we immediately added a 50 because we put a tape measure across the front of my JK. I had an 08 JK 4-door back then, Wrangler. And I had a buddy of mine mock up some brackets, and we mounted it above the windshield, and really felt like, made it look like a spaceship, but it was just so cool to do that. So we came out with that 50-inch bar, and I still have a picture of that Jeep in my home office. If I could find it, it's in here somewhere. But of the very first 50-inch light bar that was across the roof of a Jeep. As you well know, that it was greatly abused over the next 15 years.
Yes.
Because everything and its brother, from double stacks to triple stacks to everything. But initially it just fit there. So we expanded it to a 50-inch extrusion and did that. And then we went the other direction and on a cocktail napkin drew out what would become the dually, which was I think our most popular product of all time. It was the 3-inch pod, little Rubik's cube, we called it, and you could fit it anywhere. We made a tremendous amount of bracketry for different vehicles and different mounting applications, and just made it, kind of our entry level. I think for $199 you could get a pair of those things, and versus $500 for a 10-inch light bar, which was a hard stretch for a lot of people and hard to understand back then.
Right.
So, I credit the dually to really being kind of our segue.
Yeah, I've got a set on my Raptor in the bumper.
Yeah. Well, that was another story. So the Raptor came out in, what was that, 11?
10.
10.
10.
10, the small motor, and then 11, the 6.2 came out.
Yes.
So we had a customer who had one of the very first Raptors here in town, and that was ours to use. We built brackets for the windshield on that as well. And then that same friend of mine built brackets for the fog holes in the stock bumper. So we had 2 on each side. And I remember, I think it was 10:30 at night, he finally showed up, and we mounted those things, and they fit in the hole. And so that was our first Raptor mount. Was putting those, actually the first vehicular mount ever for the dualies was in that Ford Raptor.
Okay. And then did you guys produced a replacement grill as well, didn't you?
Yep. Grills were a few years down the line, but that was a stretch for us to get automotive lighting into vehicles that weren't necessarily off-road. They could be a fog light. It could be, mounted into a stock vehicle. People were putting grills on everything back then. It was a huge craze back before the the big three or the big four came out and started really making trucks look good.
Right.
With nice grills and all that. That was an easy way to get stuff mounted.
So what was probably the most popular product that you guys produced? I liked your flashlight.
Oh yeah, the Halo, the original
Right.
Halo.
Yep.
That was pretty cool. That was another one of those little wow factor deals that, just impressed people because it was so bright. So that was good. That was another thing that, was more affordable than a 30 or 40-inch light bar. But I'd say overall, the granddaddy of them all really is that dually. The original dually, which was, the little 4 bulb. And then of course we went into the dually Pro, and we had, we upsized it into a larger version and an even larger version in the Q series. But if you were to do a count on number of units sold, the dually is the winner hands down.
Right. And I want to get into the transition of the business and then you running it after the sale, if that's cool. But before we jump that far ahead, let's talk about your racing and how that came about.
Oh, my racing came right after the sale of Rigid.
Okay.
Which, before I forget, there were 4 of us partners in there.
Right.
So that was my brother Seth and I and Jason. And then we brought Steve in, I think about a year after the 3 of us teamed up. So there was Steve Adams, Jason Christensen, me and my brother Seth. But right after we sold the company, I think we all thought we were going to stay on and help, but it didn't work out that way. Big business changes things, and methodology changes, and programs change, and for some reason I ended up being the only one that stayed on long term, and it was in my marketing capacity. So I did have some good relationships at the time, and I think I had some value there. I was also the gatekeeper for culture. I really was big on how we were internally, not just externally, how we treated our employees, how we ran our business from the inside. And I think it was important for a while for me to keep my hands on that and help guide them a little bit. And I did it for 5 years. And then I decided to step away and do my personal stuff. But the racing, the answer to your question is the racing started right after that. I had always wanted to race. Trophy trucks were really, really cool. And I don't know if I'm not ready to make that financial commitment. I think everybody thinks they are. They think they can. I could, if I could just get in a trophy truck, I can go and drive and win races. And I did, I think, as well, until I got into a trophy truck with a driver. And that actually was BJ Baldwin. And we went out and I did a half a day with him out at his track out in Vegas, on the outskirts of Vegas out there, and realized rather quickly that I was not going to win any races.
Right.
Because the talent level and the practice and the training and everything that goes into what these guys accomplish, it's real. It's the real deal. So I need a lesser version of that, which turned out to be vintage truck racing with Nora and the Nora platform. And I had watched a truck get built up on Race Desert for a couple of years. by a guy by the name of Matt Parks. He built a '74 dent side. It was an old pre-runner truck that was built by Randy LaFortune, I believe, who was in the Walker Evans group for a while. So, as far as I was concerned, it was a formidable vehicle, and it had been completely restored. And you might recognize it as the Pabst Blue Ribbon truck.
Right.
It was called the Hay Hauler. Or no, not the Hay Hauler. That was Gordon's. It was called the Beer Hauler. Sorry. So it took me 6 months to talk Matt out of that truck, and I finally got my hands on it, and immediately took it out to the desert. It scared the shit out of me. I had a 427 Cobra in it, a great transmission, about 11 inches of travel, which I treated like it was 20. But ended up at my first sitting at the start line of my first NORA race. I think it was probably 17 or 18. I can't remember exactly. But and then did that first NORA race, which for those of you who aren't familiar, it's from Ensenada to Cabo. It takes 5 days, and to me it was honestly it was like the Cannonball Run in the dirt, and I had the most fun I'd ever had in my life, and that just got me hooked. I actually happened to win my class. Had a great crew down there helping me keep the truck together that I just pounded to death every day, and would wake up after little to no sleep and get it back in the truck and just do it again. And the feeling. It's amazing.
Right.
It's amazing, and getting to do it in an old vintage truck is something that I thought about for a long time. And I'm racing next to these trucks that I knew. The Scoop Vessel's truck was behind me at the starting line, and Walker Evans was racing in the same race, and it was an amazing process to see it all come together down there and to be a part of it. I did 3 years before I broke my truck so much that it's been under the knife now for about 2 years. So COVID knocked the race out for the first year, so it just seemed like a good year to rebuild everything. And it's supposed to be done here in about a month and a half. So
good.
Yeah.
So then with I thought your racing started a little earlier than that, but that makes total sense. The nice thing about NORA is that I like the idea of the stage racing. I think it's easier on the crews and on the teams. Yeah,
it is. And the drivers.
Right.
I mean, what goes into that. Anything in Baja, it's a wild trip, and I still haven't mastered the art of keeping my truck together long enough to race it more than a day. So I think there's a lot to be said for that, and just saving your equipment. I'm getting better, but it's a challenge for a guy like me because I just see somebody and they just need to be passed. So you do whatever you can to pass them.
Yeah, I have that problem. I haven't actually officially ever entered a race. There was a competition that we did, and there's an Arizona guy named Ryan Miller that runs with Campbell's and stuff, and he was in this thing that I was in. In fact, and Charlene Bauer was the one that was that ended up winning it, but it was part of Trail Hero, my son's event.
Oh yeah.
And it was something that Val Douglas put together, and you did a lap, which was quite a long lap. And then the second lap you went in and there was things that you had to accomplish, like driving, blindfold, and you're getting spotted through the rocks by the spotter and you're driving blindfolded. And then there was like a tire change, and there was these different elements to it as on the second lap. Well, luck of the draw, I get like third to last start, and there's a girl behind me, and I'm in my Cherokee, which is just there is no up travel. I have like an inch and a half, 2 inches of up travel. It's all down travel because it's built for rock crawling.
Right.
So we're
You're on the
going,
bumps.
yeah. So we're going across the sand out there at Sand Hollow, and this girl in this Toyota pickup truck that's total pre-runnered out. Multiple shocks and bypasses and all this kind of stuff. She just goes blowing right by me in this pre-runner, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to catch her in this stuff. And then Ryan Miller in this little TJ that he has that they called the Rally Jeep goes screaming past me, and my wife had told me, said, okay, we're going to do this, but it's not a race. And I said, you really, I don't play board games. I'm not a very good competitor. I'm not a good winner, and I'm not a good loser. I'm probably a worse winner because if I beat somebody at something, I'm going to let them know about it forever. And so I can kind of, I get this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing going. And Ryan Miller goes past me, and all of a sudden I'm just on the throttle. And Shelley's not enjoying it at this point because I've turned it into a race. But now I know I'm the last car on course, right? And I could see the two people that just passed me just smoking me. So I tried not to go. Finally, she goes about halfway around the track. She goes, all right, just stop. We're having lunch. And I'm like, we're what? So I'm kind of freaking out, right? Okay, I get out of the truck, we have a soda, we have some water, we eat a sandwich, a piece of fruit or something like that. And the whole time I'm trying to get back in the Jeep, and she's like, no. We're gonna enjoy this. And I'm just, it's just driving me nuts.
Right.
Okay, well, finally she lets us get back in the truck, or the Jeep. We get going again. And before we get to the first part of the first of the challenges, I smack an undercut, blow a rim up. I have no spare with me because I didn't want to carry the extra weight. Totally blew the spare up. Tire's still good, but here I am stuck in the middle of the course in a real narrow spot. Now, they had a recovery right around the corner, so they finally got me out of there, having to drag me out. And that's when Shelley says, okay, we never have to compete again.
Well, you might be the bravest guy I know if you're going to put your wife next to you in a race truck. So that's something I would never even consider that.
Well, I wasn't the one considering it. She wanted to do it, and I'm the driver. She can drive, but I'm the driver, and it's I'm too hyper competitive at anything. So I don't even play board games. I learned that with my kids because, there was no way I was going to let a 6-year-old beat me in any board game.
Right.
Yeah. Of course, that's probably why my kids are the way they are. So anyway. So
yeah, it takes a special kind.
Yeah. So then one of the things that I know, so we came by and did a shop visit with you guys. Oh my God, it was probably, I want to say 16. Shelley and I stopped by, and one of the things and that's when all your manufacturing was done in your warehouse. Everything was put together there. Your employees just seemed happy. And
yeah, they were.
It was refreshing to see.
Yeah.
And that was
we had a great group of people, and they took care of us, and likewise we took care of them. We had a fun time. It was a really fun time. I miss it. Right.
And that with the change with the sale of the company, that kind of that you guys, they took it out of house, didn't they?
They did. Yeah. I mean, anytime I think something like that happens and you get a real big outfit that comes in and buys a family business basically, which is what we were. We can be disappointed about how it changed, but it's just inevitable. That's why they bought you. And I think it was my wife that that reminded me at a time. She says, you sold your right to complain when you sold it. And that was true. I could do whatever I could do while I was still there to try to keep everything the way that I wanted it to be. But, it's probably not the most cost efficient way to run things. We would bring food trucks in once a month. We would, you get free lunch on your birthday. We did all kinds of fun parties and chili cook-offs. And, it's just hard to do that if you're a big outfit. They don't care as much as we did, quite honestly. They don't. It's more about the dollars.
Right.
So.
That's happened to one of the things that I've noticed in off-road recently is that these investment firms have stepped in and purchased, everything. I mean, like Polaris with Transamerica, and then Wheel Pros, with Transamerica. And it's just, everything that is coming, these conglomerates are just swallowing people up. And the guys that had the businesses and sold them, I think it's a good thing. Because a lot of those guys were like, I'm overworked. I need time. I want to spend more time with my family or my wife or whatever.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I don't know if it really does the industry any good, but I can't blame anybody for bailing.
No, it's a wicked circle, and you can look at it a lot of different ways. But for us to finally get out of that, 50 to 80 hour week that we had been doing for 10 years, 12 years, all of us had young kids, and it was a challenge all the time. We were flying back from trade shows. I remember SEMA every year. We would all fly home for Halloween and literally do the trick or treating, and then at midnight hop back on the plane to get back so we could be at the show in the morning. That's the kind of stuff we were able to do, but a lot of people weren't. And you miss so much. And by the time I had been able to step back a little bit, my boys were, I think, 13 and 14. So I still had a lot of time with them, and I didn't miss as much as some people did. But having your own business will suck the life out of you. Ask any business owner, any one of them, and they'll tell you that if they're doing it right, it's sucking the life out of them. Right. And to be able to have an opportunity like we did, and I think we weren't the first, but we were kind of in that earlier wave of conglomerates buying people up, and I've seen it happen so much since Rigid sold. It's pretty amazing. I mean, the number of companies now that are under different wings, and it's a wild thing. And I think you're right. I think a majority of the time it's not better for the customer, unfortunately. Everybody's trying to keep their prices low, and with competition from overseas, and with we dealt personally with knockoffs, and you're dealing with so many expenses that the general consumer doesn't get to see. It was a fight. It was a fight every day to accomplish what we did.
Right. And I know that when you talk about, the competition and knockoffs, I remember was at a dirt riot race that we were putting on, and we had some raffle items. We were trying to raise money for, I don't remember what charity it was that year, but we did it every year with our Backdrop Awards banner. We'd auction it off, and we'd do, had product from different companies and stuff. And somebody had come up and said, "Hey, I got these lights, auction them off." And I couldn't tell you what brand they were. I know that they were, they said made in China on the box and everything, but it was, hey, somebody would buy a raffle ticket,
Yeah.
So we, the guy who won it, I had a friend helping hand the stuff out as we were doing this, calling numbers and stuff. And the guy that was helping me goes, "Hey, by the way, there's a switch on the side of this, and when you flip the switch, goldfish come out." And I looked at him and I was like, "What the hell did you just say?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, these things, I had a pair of these, and I got rid of them because the first time it rained, they got full of water. It was like fish were living in them." And I was like, and it was just like the funniest thing that he said. But I realized that is the case. You can walk around and see all these guys with light bars on their Jeeps, or, on their Honda Civics, I mean, anybody that
Yeah.
puts a light bar on the top of a Honda Civic is, I'm wondering anyway. But, most of them are all fogged out. There's water in them. The
Yeah.
lens is all crackled or whatever, from the sunlight.
Right. Right.
And a guy will
That's
go,
what it is.
but it only cost me $10.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was the argument we always got. Well, I could buy 5 of these for year one. And I said, well, if you want to install it 5 times and have it, not very, very much light. I think Hammer of all people, Jeremy calls them glow lights because they just glow a little bit. But
Exactly.
yeah, that was a big part of the challenge too. And we spent a lot of time chasing down that stuff, and just takes the fun out of it. It really does. But anytime you have something good, somebody wants a piece of it. Doesn't matter what you're doing.
Right. So, how about your kids? What are your boys into? What are you doing with them?
Well, I've got 2 boys. One is 20 and one is 18, and they're just amazing. They're both busy. One boy, Mash, is my older one. He is a firefighter at Vernon Fire Department up in northern Arizona.
Okay.
Part-time, and he's looking for a full-time position, but he's got everything he needs. And in the fire world, it just takes time. But real responsible kid and great kid. My other one, Zach, he is up in Laramie, Wyoming, going to a school called Wyotech.
Yeah.
And learning the automotive trade. So he's in his 4th month right now. So he just started his fabrication class. And actually in 3 weeks, I'm going to be taking he's got a 95 Project Bronco OBS that I'm going to be taking it up to him, and they're going to be putting a roll cage in that at school. And he'll be building the suspension and all that there as well. So
awesome. Excellent.
Yeah, they're good kids. A little weird, we're kind of empty nesters here, my wife and I, and we're trying to find ways to keep busy that keep us out of trouble.
Hey, buy a boat.
No. I have a pre-runner, and that's even worse than a boat. So.
Yeah, we bought a boat a couple of years ago to live on in the winter time, and it's down in the Corpus Christi Bay area. And
Nice.
I love wintering down there. I love chasing 70 degrees.
Oh yeah.
But I missed the boat. We haven't been on it since last March because of the health issues here in Northern California with my parents. So, but we're, it's still sitting there. We still have somebody go out and clean it and run it and do the things that needs to be done on a boat that you can't use yet. But it's, we still have it.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of what we did with our cabin. We bought a cabin, and it took us 2 years to get it back to what it was in its heyday, and we just enjoy it now. And but the work never stops. The projects never stop. I mentioned my pre-runner. We took that out to test after actually Hammer had done the suspension upgrades to it, made some changes, and put our new glass on it. And then I took it out to Sycamore, which is kind of our little runaround area out here,
Right.
And promptly blew the motor. So, that's just the way these things go sometimes. So I'm in the market for a motor, and then I can test again and maybe even get it painted. Who knows?
And how big a motor are you going to put into it?
Well, I've learned the motor that you think you need is probably smaller than the motor that you want. So we're still working on it. It's a Ford, so it's a Ford F-150, and we'll go. I might go 427 again because I like that Cobra motor in my race truck. It sits at about 550, 525,
right,
with the horsepower and torque, and it's enough for me to, I could get into trouble in my race truck because it's just a little F-100. The pre-runner, which is a 4-door, I think I can get in less trouble and still have the power, but we'll see. There's a lot of options these days. So
And when is Nora this year? Is it early or late?
Nora, there's two. There's a 500 and a 1,000.
Okay.
And the exact dates, I'd be lying if I told you I knew what they were. September is, I think, the 500, and then if I recall, no, I'm not even going to say it because I don't remember anymore.
Okay.
That's part of turning 50. So.
Oh, just wait till you get my age then.
Oh man, yeah, I understand.
Write things down and leave them.
Yep, exactly.
And don't put them on floppy disks.
No, I don't think I have any. Well, I might still have some of those somewhere around here.
Because then all of a sudden they become obsolete and you go, now what do I do?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so what besides the race truck, what do you think is on the horizon for you and your wife? Any travel plans?
Yeah, we love to travel. We're actually heading to Pine Key in the Keys in Florida in March. We're going to do a couple of weeks there. I love that area. And then we spend a lot of time up here at the cabin. And I tinker around quite a bit with wood projects, and my latest obsession is vintage axes, believe it or not. So I'm on the search for any and all old hand forged axes that I can make new handles for and collect, I guess. Some people say that I should sell some, but I don't like selling things that I like. So I hoard them. So if you ever need to chop wood, let me know.
That's interesting. I may have some around here somewhere. I'll take a look.
You go ahead and take a look for me.
Because I've got some from the grandparents, I think.
Oh wow! Well, yeah. Keep me in mind on that, please, and any vintage chainsaws as well. It's my other time waster.
Well, chainsaws are faster than axes.
They are. They're a lot more fun.
Right. Axes take a lot more physical labor.
Yeah. Well, the axes help keep me in shape. That's for sure.
There you go. Maybe I need to start using an axe.
You come on up anytime. Come on. Yeah. It's more fun to watch my kids chop wood, to be honest. So.
Yes, it is. and then that way you say, I think your technique is a little off. Try this. That's
yeah.
Coaching.
Exactly. So I can manage.
Yeah, I'm a much better coach than I am a doer.
Yeah. It's a little harder these days to get the stuff done that we used to, for sure.
Exactly. Well, are you doing anything business-wise besides just racing, or do you have any projects you're working on?
Not exactly. I thought for a few years that I would get involved with something, and to be honest, I think I must have had lunch twice a week with people for a few years. Just throwing ideas around, and people think of something, and I listen to it, and no, I think I just decided that I've done that part of my life, and unless something really special comes up and bites me, I'm probably going to stay at the pace I'm at. I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on being able to do that.
Well, thank you very much.
And with
it's a blessing for sure.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. And with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for spending some time with us and talking about your history and growing up and racing and Rigid Industries and Dragonfire and everything else.
Not a problem. I appreciate it, Rich, very much.
And next time I come down to Arizona, which is going to be about a month, I'll have to see about getting the three of us together, you and Hammer and myself, and grab a lunch in a cold one somewhere.
For sure. We all like food.
Yes. And then comes the axes.
Yeah, and bring those axes with you too, buddy.
There you go. All right. I want to say thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks, Rich. You have a good one.
You take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Well, that's another episode of Conversations with Big Rich. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you could do us a favor and leave us a review on any podcast service that you happen to be listening on, or send us an email or a text message or a Facebook message, and let me know any ideas that you have, or if there's anybody that you have that you think would be a great guest, please forward the contact information to me so that we can try to get them on. And always remember, Live life to the fullest. Enjoying life is a must. Follow your dreams and live life with all the gusto you can. Thank you.